Actually, that's Pastor Frank Dyer. Wow, welcome. You all came back. If you're watching online, thank you for tuning in once again. Our icebreaker talked about scriptures. Mine would be Psalm 23, because it's what I said when I met my wife. The Lord is my shepherd, and I see what I want. From a textual perspective, though, the Bible says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was void, without form. Darkness was upon the face of the deep. But obviously, the Spirit of the Lord moved upon the face of the waters. The first thing he said is, let there be what? Light. We need light on our money. We need light on our real estate. We need light on our finances. We need light on our retirement. We need light in terms of trust. We need light on mutual funds. We need light on stocks and securities. We need light in every area of our lives. Day number one, he says, let there be light. Day number two, he separates the clouds or the firmaments. Day number three, he says, let the dry land appear. And the reason why I'm talking about the land is because everything you see around you came from the land. The phone came from the land. This microphone came from the land. The suit came from the land. The tables came from the land. Actually, you came from the land. Day number four, he creates the sun, the moon, and the stars. Day number five, said plants and animals. But day number six, he put his hands on man. And I started thinking about the land and how we came out of the land. And most scholars, I don't want to debate with anybody, but most scholars will believe that typically the Garden of Eden was in Africa. And so my colleague and I have on African attire tonight because we're taking it back to our roots. You can't talk about solutions to prosperity and finances and wealth without going back to the original place where it all started. Gold is made in Africa. Copper, jewels, diamonds, everything came from the black coal. Once you put the pressure and the heat on it, that's somebody's word, but I won't preach right there. If you're going through trouble and pain, there is power on the other side of it. Everything that thought it was pulling you back, setting you back, was really a setup for success. Everything that was making you frown was just pushing you to create fruit. Now, what do we do financially? Because many of us have been through so many different things. And now we're faced with, who am I? What am I? Where am I? And how much money do I have? Your assignment last week, if you've been watching us online or by video, your assignment was to try and save $100 within the last 7 days. I need a show of hands, or you can light up the comments. Who did it? Amen. Y'all give them a hand. Yes. Yes. Whether it was skipping a cup of coffee a day, whether it was, the whole purpose was trimming the fat in your budget. Because all you need is a routine and a rhythm, and the rest is history. So we're going to do a 60-second exercise. On your table, you have, and if you're watching online, you can actually take notes. You can do it this way. There is a blank sheet of paper. You can use the back of your notes, or there are also notes at your table. Everybody breathe in. Breathe out. Come on, inhale. Exhale. Close your eyes for just a few moments. I think you can trust the person next to you. We've got security in the room. You'll be okay. I want you to envision where you would like to vacation. Let's take it a step further. Where would you like to retire? What city, what state, or what country? What should that house look like? Is it large? Is it small? Is it by a lake? Is it by a forest, trees, deer, raccoons, waterfalls, mountains? Some of y'all said we can skip the raccoons. Is it in the country? Is it on land that you have? Is it on land that's in your family? Is it on land that you're going to acquire or purchase? Where will you live? Now, how old will you be? What age? And then last question, how much money do you want to retire within your pocket. You can open your eyes now. Everything you envision, I need you to now write on paper. If you're watching online, I need you to scribe this in your notes, or you can write it on a sheet of paper. We talked about E3 last week. We either learn with our ears, our eyes, or our effort. So you closed your eyes and you envisioned it, and some of you started hearing the waterfall. Some of you started seeing the land. Now the effort, that's your hand on the pen writing down where you want to retire. I want to give you a few more instructions, and I'm going to bring up one of the smartest people that I know who is going to take us deeper into investments. But let me dial it back a little bit so that no one feels like you are less than. But I want to make it realistic. If you're in your 20s, God bless you. You are in the right time at the right season. My God. I will never forget graduating college in Missouri, moving to Texas. I was 23 years old. I worked at an internet service provider. It was Netcom ICG, later became Earthlink or Mindspring, then Earthlink. And they said, if you start now, you'll have so much money when you're 40 or in your 40s. So if you're in your 20s, prime time. Let's make the discipline now to start investing at least 15%. We're going to do a review later. You guys know the 50-30-20 rule, which means 20% should go to down payment, savings. Before we get to the home, it's going to be savings. No, it's good. It's good because you're... No, you're good. You're thinking about the card, the 23 and 8. We're going to review all of that. 30% would go to your wants. Within your wants is I want to tithe. I want to give a free will offering. So that 10% could be there, which leaves you 20 left. Or if you do something that we used to do, we just would tithe 15%, and the other 15% we used as vacation or entertainment. The other 50%, which means you live off half your money, should be your needs. That's either your mortgage or your rent, your light bill, cell phone bill, water, electricity, gas, etc. Now, if you're in your 30s, you still got time. You're rolling with momentum. You're in your 40s, it's starting to get real. You're like in between. You're like, I'm still somewhat young. I got the strength and the wisdom, but I'm starting to realize some of these, oh my God, I should have saved more money. And if you're in your 50s, now you can see retirement. You're starting to think, I'm going to be 60 soon. If you're in your 60s, you like, is Social Security going to be here? Medicaid, Medicare, what do I have enough to make it, or do I live with my children? If something should befall me, what does a nursing home look like? If you're in your 70s, you know you've got a date planned to walk away and back up and say, I'm done. Because the older you get, your strength is not the same as what it could be. I'm not saying that the Lord can't bless you. Caleb said, give me this mountain. Caleb said, I'm as strong as I am. Listen, Caleb like 85. Listen, Caleb was strong. We're not in the Bible days. Okay, I'm not saying you can't be strong. But if you're in your 70s, then now, or if you're watching and you're in your 80s, you're already in that moment. Now you're having to say, let me readjust my vacation. Let me readjust my retirement. Let me readjust how I want to retire. And what does retirement look like? A couple of things I'm going to say, and I'm going to back out of the way. If you're in your 60s, you know you're at retirement age or reaching it, but now you're trying to figure out, what can you do with the money that you have right now? All of those questions, whether it's from your 20s, because your 20s, you've got opportunity, but you don't have the wisdom yet. So in your 30s, I got a little time, but you don't know exactly where to put your money where, and you're not really most times you're not really making what you really want to make. You're in your 40s, you're in between. Do I have enough time to switch careers or do something different? You're in your 50s, you know it's coming. You're in the 60s, you're like, I'm right at the cuffs. You're in your 70s, you're like, it is what it is. So I want to challenge those who are older to rethink. I want to challenge those to younger to dig in. Everybody's at the same point. We all need a solution for prosperity. And for that reason, I bring up my colleague. I want to make sure you understand that everything we're giving you is informational instruction. It is more education than legal advice. But it's time for us to learn about what? How to do what? How to invest. If you're watching, please type that in the chat. How to invest. Now, I'm going to bring an expert. We both worked at City Mortgage together, City Bank, City Finance, you name it. And then he worked at some other banks as well. This is an expert. I would ask that you would dig in, write your questions down. We're going to come back for questions and comments at the end. If you're watching online, feel free to write those questions in. We're going to have our team make sure that we answer each and every one. Drain him from everything he's got. Right now, we want your attention. We want your hunger. We're going to give you a breakdown of many things that we had to learn by working for somebody, sweating and making other people rich. So why can't we make you rich? Why can't we all get paid? Are y'all scared to say get paid in church? The love of money is the root of all evil. That's the love of it. But Lord, I sure like it. The last thing the Bible says, money answers all things. It provides an answer. So I don't have an answer when I don't have. Mr. Frank Dyer, Pastor Dyer, would you come and take us further?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. How's everyone doing this evening? Very good, very good. I've got a little bit of a cold, but other than that, we're going to make it through. All right, so investing, we've talked about it over and over again. We've talked about brokerage accounts. We've talked about mutual funds. And we're going to tap into something that I think is just near and dear to my heart. One of the things that we don't do, and I always say this, we don't do consistently, is consistently invest. We've got to make the time to do that. Stop trying to compare ourselves to the Joneses with our cars. You know, a lot of people, the comment that was made last week was people making $100,000 or more are still living paycheck to paycheck. Why is that? It's called lifestyle creep, right? That's a new concept. They try to, you don't have to have your children in the AAU ball where you're traveling all over the world. You don't have to have that $75,000, $80,000 car. It's called lifestyle creep, buying stuff to try to impress the Joneses at the end of the day. We talked about cars last week, and we talked about how cars is probably one of the biggest generational wealth killers ever, because as you drive it off the lot, you're losing 10%. 2 or 3 years, you're losing 30 to 40%, depending on the car, the make, and the model. The key is, honestly, and I know everybody wants a new car, I said it before. The key is, honestly to me, I guess I ought to get to the slides at some point. The key is certified pre-owned, something 2 or 3 years or older, get the waist out of the car, and then you get your car and you keep moving with it. The other piece that I noticed, and this is just things I'm just thinking about right now, is that when people buy these expensive cars, they can't afford the maintenance. So let's think about what you're doing when you do it, right? Because a Benz to get an oil change where it used to be $19.99 is probably $229.99 now. I'm unable to do that. All right, let's get it rocking and rolling. 2 ways to make money. What are the 2 ways to make money? No. All right, well, I'm going to help you all out. You work for your money, right? Someone pays you to work, or you have your own business, right? Another move is have your money work for you. So we're going to talk about having your money work for you. I always talk about making money while you sleep. Mutual funds price at night. And if it goes up, you're making money while you sleep. Let's think about it. What is investing? What is investing? $1 million question. Somebody give me a quick answer. All right, well, somebody don't give me a quick answer. I'll try one more time. Somebody give me an answer. What is investing? Come on now. Basically, you're right. Investing is the practice of purchasing assets such as stocks or bonds with the expectation that those assets will earn income or increase in value over time. Straightforward. That's an investment. Why is it important? At the end of the day, it's muy importante because you're looking to create wealth. It's growth of wealth. Earn more over long periods of time. One of the things they taught me while we were at Fidelity Investments, and listen, they know, you invest for the long term. I know Pastor Dobbins and I talk about things like Bitcoin, et cetera, on occasion. But what I said before is do that with a small portion of your portfolio. It's unregulated. We don't know what's going on with it. Otherwise, invest consistently every single month. Have it automatic drafted out of your account. go into a mutual fund, and that's the easiest way to make it happen consistently, because you'll forget about it. And then you look up and you get your quarterly statement or your annual statement. It's like, wow, it grew. One of the keys is beating inflation. Right now, inflation is running around 3%, right? It's going to continue to grow. We've got to make sure we beat that. We can't beat that in the banks. So the banks are designed, and again, this is a banker. I spent 17 years in banking, between banking and Fidelity. The banks are designed for transactions only. So if you've got money, how many of you guys have more than $5,000 sitting in a savings account at a bank? Okay, we need to stop that. You keep enough money in your accounts at banks to maintain no fees. Other than that, you need to have your money making money for you somewhere. Some of us have this fear that I've got to be able to get to my money. With the way the world works now, you can transfer money from Singapore here overnight and have the money that you need to get anybody out of jail, because that's the one thing we got to have money for, I think. I don't know what it is. It can't be for a hospital visit, because Lord knows I've been going to the hospital every week now forever. But let's just think about what that looks like and being able to make money. The comment that I made before was high yield savings accounts. There's a lot of those out there now that are paying 4.5%. There's some resources on your book, the booklet that you have. Oh, it's time to go to sleep. I like that alarm, bro. There's a couple of things in your pamphlet, in your handout, that talks about some of the banks. We talked about Bank Rate. Is that what it's called? Bank Rate? Yes, bankrate.com. Go there, get some ideas, but don't keep enough money in your savings account to make sure that you're covered for fees. Other than that, they are just using your money. They're giving you 0.01%, and they're loaning it out at 18% or higher. A prime example. This is a prime example, and I will get going because we're going to go over if I don't. The prime example I use all the time, $25,000 left in a savings account at 0.01% interest. How much do you think you get a year? $9. $9 a year. Think about that. 0.01%. All right, so let's keep going. Yes, sir.
And how much can they leverage that?
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, tons of money. The cost of money is minimal. You see it all the time, right? So the cost of money is minimal. Right now, they're talking about the possibility of raising the rates a little bit, or lowering the rates a little bit. So mortgages will go down, but that's how they leverage everything. That's
Is it $1 for $100 for every dollar the bank holds?
Basically, yes. But the Fed will cover, yes. Isn't that crazy? Why is investing important? Passive income. It definitely creates that. You have some accounts, some stocks, some dividends are created from both stocks and mutual funds that are just creating passive income. I made the comment the other day, in actually 3 of our accounts, we literally will make $60,000 in passive income just off of that account. That's crazy to me, or those accounts, 3 accounts. All right, my favorite thing, mutual funds. Let's talk about them. What is a mutual fund? This is a question I get quite a bit. What is a mutual fund? And a lot of people are afraid to invest in it because they don't know. We always hear the concept of investing in stock. Stock this, stock that. The key, though, is mutual funds. You could never buy enough shares of stock to really make a major move. So let me get into this before I start talking about it. Mutual fund is a company that will pool monies from many investors and invest the money in securities such as stocks, bonds, and short-term debt. There we go. So hopefully that didn't oversimplify what we're looking to do. What I talked about was investing in stocks is kind of difficult. This allows you to diversify. And we'll see this in a few minutes, one mutual fund, depending on the type there are, we're going to talk about 3 different types of mutual funds, will allow you to diversify any impact. I won't say any impact. Armageddon, it doesn't really matter. But most impacts on your money, right? One of the things that Pastor Dobbins is going to talk about a little bit, and it really depends to me on where you are in your life, meaning are you at children age, are you empty nesters, are you empty nestee? It just really depends. Are you in your 20s, et cetera? We'll talk about that a little bit because it's going to talk about your risk, and that's going to identify the type of mutual fund that you may be looking at as well. So right now we've got 3 different funds we're going to look at. We've got an equity fund. We've got an index fund that you guys hear so very much alike about, because it monitors, it focuses on the index itself. If you look at the index, the Dow Jones, S&P, it mimics that. And if you look at what that's done over the life of the NASDAQ and the Dow, it has never lost money. Right. It's 10%. It makes at least 10% all the time. So imagine what we're saying, and we're talking about 0.01% interest, and we're talking about it never loses money. It's going to make 10%. But mentally, you got to be prepared that it's going to swing. It's going to go up and down. Scared money can't make money, as they say in the barrio. Other one is balanced fund. So the way I try to do things, I've got and I did this because this is what I have. I got a combination of these. The balanced fund, it's not going to make as much, right? But it kind of balances the other things. It's not as risque as I'll call it. But we'll take a look at two of these, and I'll let you know exactly what that looks like. So the equity fund. An equity fund itself is a professionally managed pool of investment vehicle comprised primarily of just stocks, and that's the ones we're looking at are just simply the stocks. They offer broader exposure than the individual stocks, and that's what I mentioned earlier. The individual stocks are much more risky, okay? Because you've got to, and they're not as profitable because you have to buy so much in order to make money on them, okay? The index fund, the most popular thing out there, and that was the reason I mentioned that comment. An index mutual fund tracks the performance of specific market benchmarks or index, like the S&P 500 index, as closely as possible. What you normally find in those is they've got those same stocks that you see on the S&P will be the same exact stocks that you'll see in this mutual fund, okay? What that does for you, it lessens your impact because you're not all in one stock. Say, one stock, say for instance, Johnson & Johnson. You're not in just J&J, right? You're in a little bit of everything. So Johnson & Johnson gets a hit, the other ones may go up, and it compensates for that. So where everybody else may lose 70%, you may lose 9%, but the next time it goes up 20%, you're up 9%, right? Right. The other is balanced fund. It's a blended fund that provides investors a balanced portfolio of stocks and bonds, the difference, in a single mutual fund. So the bonds are things like, I used to live in the city of Arlington, so the city of Arlington issues bonds for street repair, right? City bonds and things like that are much more stable because they give a guaranteed interest rate, right? Example is the bonds that we used to buy, people don't really buy them anymore, the savings bonds, right? Remember those? Yeah. They used to be really, really popular. Same concept. You know it's a guaranteed rate of an interest. You know you can always get your money from the government. Well, we can say that for now. Lord knows it's getting crazy right now. But I think at the end of the day, that's what that does for you. It gives you a guaranteed level of interest all the time. That's why it's a little bit safer than one of the index funds or the balanced fund. Provides investors with a long-term growth potential plus a source of income. Because what you're going to get as well, and think about this, there's a lot of stocks, and there's also, I'd say more stock than anything, stocks and mutual funds. And we talked about the fact that they both give dividends. Literally, I know people that live off the dividends from their stocks, shares of stock. Literally, because stocks today, my wife had an earnings call today. They don't do dividends, they reinvest all their dividends. But she was on a call today talking about the dividends that they're doing and they're reinvesting to build more bandwidth for the organization. But for many, they'll get some of the big ones, the Altrias, and you can Google this and see which stocks pay the most in dividends. And literally, you can make it so it's January, February, March, every month certain stocks they will literally pay your dividends and make money off of it. Mutual funds are the same way. If these mutual fund investors, if they have that stock in their portfolio, you'll get those dividends, but they'll come back in. What I would encourage you to do for now until you need it, just dividend reinvest. Automatically put that dividend back into your account to buy more shares of stock or buy more shares of the mutual fund. And you'll see that happens every month, every quarter, depending on what type of fund it is. All right, so this is probably a page a lot of people wanted to see. Top 5 Fidelity mutual funds that I cannot see, so let me turn around for a second. You can't see it either? Well, I'm gonna call them all out. So, no, I don't think it can be enlarged, unfortunately, but with your phone, you're right. So, again, I'm not encouraging you to buy Fidelity. I just know Fidelity because I work there and I trust them. They have a lot of my stuff. I'm not encouraging you to do that. There's a lot of other reputable folks in your packet. You'll see all those folks. We talk about Schwab. We talk about so many others that are out there for options. First one up there is the Fidelity 500 Index Fund. And then what you do, if you want to go and just Google it, you can Google it and go FXAIX, right? You're going to get really good at these symbols for these mutual funds. These are the keys. You've got the Fidelity Total Market Index Fund. What it shows you on the side is the expense ratio, which is what is costing you to have that. The advantage to this is these are no-load funds, right? So there's loaded funds and there's no-loaded funds. This is the way to go no-load because they're a little bit cheaper than the others. Fidelity Zero International Index Fund, expense ratio is 0%. But the symbol is FZILX. Fidelity Large Cap Value Index Fund, one of mine, FLCOX, Fidelity Real Estate Index Fund. So for instance, if you're looking to invest in real estate and you don't want to go into buying actual real estate, this is the way to do something, right? You put it in, $100 a month, $50 a month, or whatever the average is, whatever that you can do, you do that. FSRNX, I can't even see the letters. All right, everybody got your pictures? We good? All right, beautiful, next. This is the key. When you look at these mutual funds, and again, it doesn't have to be Fidelity, just some of the play people. What I said last week is look and see what's in those funds. See if it's something you want to deal with. Example, FLCOX, what was that? Did anybody write that down? What you got? What is that? Large Cap Value Fund. So we talked about what's included in it. The Large Cap Value Fund has Berkshire Hathaway. Do you guys know who Berkshire Hathaway is? Yeah, think about that. Only 3.52%, but again, what it's doing is giving you a blend of things so you're not negatively impacted if the market swings. It's got JP Morgan, who I used to work for. I got that too. ExxonMobil, huge. Johnson & Johnson, P&G, Merck, Chevron, Bank of America, Walmart, Disney. Prime examples of what you're looking at. You're diversifying because a mutual fund has so many different stocks in it, you're not impacted on a negative sense, but you're building money as you go. The next one, what is FXAIX? What you got? Come on. That's a pseudo test, y'all. Come on there. IX, yes. The Fidelity 500. So if you look at the index, this is what you're going to see. Microsoft. How many people use Microsoft applications? Thank you. Apple. How many people have an iPhone in here? Think about it. NVIDIA. How many of you guys use chips and have video and monitors and stuff? That's who it is. Amazon, Facebook, Google, Berkshire Hathaway again. Google. Oh, got Google twice. They got two different classes of stocks. Okay. Eli, think about it. This is what you look at. So when you're looking at your mutual funds, you can look at any of them you want to look at. But the key is going to be make sure you look at what they're composed of. Make sure they're things that you want to invest in. There may be a few things that you don't want to, but these are the top 10, which tells me, right, that this is where the focus is. It's always where the focus is. All right? We're rocking and rolling. Let's do this. Risk tolerance. Was that you, big homie? Okay, all right. All right. So one of the things we talk about risk, I touched on it really briefly. Risk is probably one of the most important pieces because it depends on where you are in your life, right? Am I 20 years old? Am I 30 years old? Do I have 3 kids? Do they need to go to college? Am I starting them out by giving them money to get a home? There are too many things you've got to give thought to as you do this. And the camera, I'm just walking backwards, I'm sorry. Okay, we're good. That's where you've got to look at because at the end of the day, all right, so both my kids are out of school now. So I'm a little bit, but I'm closer to retirement age, so I'm a little bit more risk averse than I used to be. But back in the day, whew, I had the most risky mutual funds there were, but I always invested in mutual funds because in the very beginning, you could invest $25 a month. And I made this comment, that's how I bought my first house in Boston with the mutual funds because they were blowing up back then. I mean, I would make 120%. It was insane. Now it's calmed down a bit because everybody is involved in them, but there's still money to be made. And it's safer money than doing some of this stuff that you see on the internet. The funny part about the internet, I've got to say this, I'm sorry. The funny part about the internet, most of that stuff is fake, y'all know that, right? You know these folks are leasing these houses and these cars and everything. And I just made the comment to some of my team members over here. And I said this last week and I stand by it. Gucci and Louis Vuitton market to people who want to look rich. That's real talk, all right? That's real talk. Risk tolerance, to lose some of all your money due to market changes in the market. You got to be cognizant of that and be aware of that. So I talked about what that looks like and what that sounds like. You've got to understand what your risks are. I mean, don't put money in there that you can't risk. It's not a bad risk, let me not put it that way, but just know that it will fluctuate. There was a guy when I was working at Chase, he'd put $10,000 in the market and the market just failed one day really bad. Out of his $10,000, he probably lost $700. In a week, it went back up and went up another 25%. He would have had $10,900 or something like that, and he pulled it out and he locked in his loss. So I'm like, you can't do that. You've got to know that it's going to fluctuate. So many. Yeah, I know. I say the same thing. Jesus is right. All I want to do in this class, what it is for me at the end of the day, is to provoke thought. I want people that look like me and those that don't look like me that want to know. Just look at it as an option. It's a viable option other than the bank. The bank does nothing for us other than do transactions, and I said it earlier. That's the key to everything. That's the key. Use the resources and the ways to leverage money that everybody else is using. All right, now it's your turn. Come on in, Tag, you've hit my brother.
Tag. Test. Tag. Test. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Let's take a little bit further on risk portion. First off, the younger you are, the more risks you can take. Doesn't mean you do anything stupid. We've all done some stupid things, but what this is articulating to you is that there are going to be currency fluctuations, okay? This is the issue with some people investing in cryptocurrency. I've made some money in cryptocurrency. I've lost some money in cryptocurrency. Overall, it's made. But there's going to be currency fluctuations. Also, you got to look at management risk in general, because the managerial risks here are your fund managers. Every mutual fund has a fund manager. That fund manager changes. It might be a little bit different, but it's going to obviously be influenced by the skills and the decisions in which they make. Super simple. That happens with anything. We shall see who will run our country in November, right? So that affects it all. So you get to control what you can. Let's talk a little bit about fees. Now, if I go to, it's hard to go to the convenience store these days and find a 99-cent soda, but if I go get a soda for 99 cents, how much will it actually cost me? Anybody? 107, 108, depending on the tax in that particular city. It's set 99, but it cost me 108, so it's a 9 cents difference. So don't let the fees scare you as it relates to mutual funds. You want to pay attention to them, but we're going to give you a brief breakdown here. It's going to cost money on every fund. There are load funds, there are expenditure funds, there are management funds. Let's talk about some basics. We've got shareholder fees. That's normal. Our video, Will wasn't just putting the funds together not to make money. He wanted to make money, right? Operating costs, super simple. Anything's going to have any type of operating costs in it. You want to find what the average is. So we've got particular charts here that's going to actually show you that information. Let's look at the impact of some of the fees and the expenses. The fees can make a substantial difference. This is how. Now, you can't see this information. I'm going to read some of it. If you see it, if you're online, you can see it much clearer. This is 2013 going up toward a projection for 2023. Now, sometimes the annual fees in 20 years might be 0.5% annual fee. Some of them show 4%. Many of the fees for mutual funds when I was studying are like 0.25%. Some of them can be very low. There's going to be a management fee. Most times there's a broker's fee. In other words, the broker or typically the financial advisor that you sit down with might have their costs, but then there's a broker for that particular mutual fund. I don't want to get too deep. I don't want to make this super complicated. There are going to be particular fees. Now, 1% on $100,000 is going to be a little bit more than 1% on $10,000, but it's going to go up incrementally. You want to reduce the fees as much as possible. Many of you invest in your 401k, but your 401k is in partnership with your company, so therefore the fees are at a minimum mat. Does that make sense? Super simple. Now, don't let the fees scare you. A little bit about impact of fees. Funds with high costs must perform better than low costs, right? So some funds are going to have certain expenses because they're producing more. Some of the mutual funds that I was looking at, I want to have the most up-to-date information today. Over a 10-year period, one of the mutual funds averaged 18% for 10 years. Whew. You can Google those. A really good fund that I was studying the last several weeks was QQQ. You can go to any, whether it's Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Ameritrade, Vanguard. You can go to any financial firm. Most of them are going to offer some similar funds. When I worked for Morgan Stanley, I noticed, I was like, man, they feed us every day, breakfast, brunch. Like, oh man, it's good. Because these particular companies wanted us to push their funds to the customers. Therefore, they made money. Does that make sense? Now, within the last 5 years, the top 10 funds have averaged about 16.5%. How many of y'all would like 16.5% made on your money every year? By you just placing the money there. If you put it in the bank, you get zero or negative. Last week we talked about money market accounts, MMAs. You're getting automatic about 5.5%, which is still good because you can pull it out quickly. A mutual fund, you're not going to be pulling your money out quickly. Does that make sense? So the 3 to 6 months cash that you have that you should save in terms of your living expenses, that should be more in a money market account that you can access. Does that make sense? Because if you fall into an emergency and have to access it, it's going to be tough. When I worked for City Mortgage for years and years and years, and one of the stats, especially the 07, 08 crisis, even now, the average person would have saved their home for foreclosure if they made an extra $500 per month. Just $500. It was the ease of stress. For some, it was a car payment. For some, it was a grocery bill. For some, it was a light bill, but an extra $500. So save that money and put it in a money market account. Quick question. What you want to do is take your savings, your 3 to 6 months worth of savings, which would be nice. It'd be nice if you save a year worth. So in other words, if it costs you $5,000 to pay all your bills, maybe it costs you $3,000 to pay for your mortgage and another $2,000 to pay for all your utilities and groceries. I'm just giving an example. That's $5,000 per month. 3 months of $5,000 is $15,000. 6 months of $5,000 would be $30,000. You want to automatically have that saved just in case a rainy day. This is why I'm not too hard on anybody. I wouldn't hard on any particular customer, even when I worked at mortgage, because I understand we are one accident away from being in a nursing home. This is grown up talk. I want to talk. So especially for those who are in your 20s, your teens, early years, you are one accident away from a strong disability. Now you can bake in life insurance with disability benefits. That's a whole nother class, so that you leverage if something ever happened, you're taken care of. I just want to articulate to you, your 3 to 6 months worth of living savings should be in a money market account. Not in a savings account. Not in a savings. A savings account gets like 0.1%, 0.01, because a lot of times there are particular fees at your bank. So no money you have, respectfully, other than the money that you need to pay your bills that are automatically drafted out of your account, need to just sit in the bank. Your same bank typically has a money market account. That account will make you at least 5%. On your table, on your paper, we're going to make sure that we upload this for those watching online. You will have a list of those banks. All you have to do is detail them. One of them is called Tap Bank. And if you'll write down your questions, we'll come right back to the end. I want to make sure that we get some more information there. My whole point is your saving funds should be in money market account. That's about 5% that it can make. In money that you're really investing, that's a mutual fund. Top mutual funds are rocking at 16% or so. Mr. Dyer taught us, listen, don't just look at the last 3 months. Oh, it's performing. Wait a minute. Look at what's called a prospectus. A prospectus is a layout, a portfolio, a resume of the mutual fund. This resume will show you what percentage they're actually performing at. But right now, 16, 18%. Now, you might find a mutual fund that's rocking at 20%. But it might be 20% this year, 12% next year, 15% this year, sometimes 9%. But most of them are pushing 10+%. Make sense? Super simple? Okay.
The key though is, and carry on.
Absolutely.
The key is what Brother Dobbins just said, 0.01% in the bank. Let's make a move and let's stop that. That's a big no-no at the end of the day. We'll talk about this at work, young lady. We will.
And I know it makes us feel good. My uncle, this was my wife normally has to help me. This could be my great my great uncle. My great uncle, let me just say it that way. It was my great grandmother's brother, so I would say my great uncle. Uncle Hugh had so much money in his boots and his shoes and underneath the mattress. He was wealthy, he had it going on, he owned land, property. It took them a long time to roll out that money and actually count it. Historically, as a people, I talked about the African attire. We really didn't trust banks. There is a reason for that, because they took our money, so we didn't trust them. So that information was passed down to you. Therefore, money was taboo in most African-American neighborhoods. All our Italian, Polish, Jewish, Russian, etc. friends, and even some of our Hispanic friends or Mexican friends from the border, they learned money in different ways because it didn't happen to them because we were discriminated against. I want to just set the record straight. Let's just talk about it all. Now we have civil rights as of 1964, 1965, voting rights. So it's taking decades for us to catch up. But we about to get on track, baby. We are about to get on track. Look at the prospectus. You can make 16 to 18%. In another class, I can't advertise that now, but my name started going viral around here because I learned how to take, I worked at a bank. I studied beyond measure. I learned how to take my own investments and put it into my own stocks. I made my own mutual funds. I would not recommend that to anybody here. I would not recommend it. Go with a safe, not in the beginning, go with a safe mutual fund that you know. Some of my portfolios made 48%, one at another time 70-something%. But it's because I took 10, I want to briefly talk, and I'm going to fly through the next few slides. I want to briefly talk to the person in here you like, I want money, but yes, it's paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't have $200 in the bank account. I'm just looking for gas money. Everything. We have millionaires in the room that I know, and then we have those that are just trying to make it. I used to take $10 per paycheck until I could do 20 per paycheck, until I could do 100, until I could do 1,000. And I would start somewhere. But when my 10 went up to $1, I said, oh, I got something. My wife's sitting over there. I was like, baby, I was hyped. She might not remember. It was years ago. I was like, my 10 went to $12.30. I would never forget it. I was like, that's $2.30. So you're looking at $2. I'm looking at, that's 23%. This means I'm developing a formula. So I'm buying NVIDIA when it was $200. Now it's almost at $1,000. Because for some of you, this is the beauty of investing. If you find something. See, first of all, if we could turn off some of our entertainment and actually turn on CNBC. I want to call some stations, but I don't want to be in trouble. If we could turn off particular stations where they're shaking their butts and everything else. Did I say that? Oh, God. I didn't take my medicine. I'm saying if we flip the script, we can catch up. You need a catatonic movement for where God is taking you. You need something kind of cataclysmic to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. We're trying to catch up. We're already late. You closed your eyes earlier. Some of y'all were dreaming. Puerto Rico, Jamaica, Florida, California, University Park, Highland Park. Some of y'all were dreaming. If that dream is going to come true, we got to work hard. Okay, let me rock real quick. Don't let the fees fool you. Quick tax implications. I'm not a tax accountant. My tax accountant was getting on me a few weeks ago. He said, Pastor, I don't understand. Do you just not care about the money? Like, I'm busy. But he was on me about making an appointment. It's very important that you talk to your tax accountant and understand that they're going to be capital gains. That's normal. But a true tax person can show you how to get some of that written off in certain aspects, okay? Dividend income. This means, as Mr. Dyer was talking about, the companies that actually pay, every company does not pay dividends. But so for instance, a company that might pay dividends might only go up 5 to 10% each year. A company that doesn't pay dividends might go up 10 to 15% per year. So you go with the 10 to 15% per year, which is good, but the other one is actually paying dividends. So it balances out. Most millionaires typically retire and live off their dividends. Let me give you an example, quick example. If I retire with $1 million and my dividends are 4%, that's normally the average for most millionaires. That means every year I'm getting $40,000. Does that make sense? $1 million, 4%, $40,000. Anybody lost? We're good to go. That means I don't even have to touch my million. I'm retired, but I haven't touched it. How do you think the rich get richer? Because I never had to touch the principal, the 40,000. Now I can divide the 40,000 out over a year, and that's about $3,725. So I now have another income without touching my $1 million. Now what happened if it was $2 million? Does that make sense? Now I got $7,450. Now what happens if it was $3 million? This is why we got to catch up. Okay, super simple. Your 401k is tax deferred. So you're tax deferred now, but don't ball out because it's really good, tax deferred. But when you take that money out after 59 and a half, it's going to be taxed. We forget about that. They told us to invest in 401ks, then we forgot it's going to be taxed when I take the money out. That's why people are investing in traditional Roth IRAs and traditional IRAs and annuities. You can sit down with a tax advisor and talk about that. Let me flip through these last two because I'm getting excited. You have to pull me back.
I hear you, brother. Go ahead.
Let's look at performance. We've talked about most of this before. Performance versus future returns. Past performance is used to track historical record, but listen to this last one. It does not guarantee future returns. Just because a company did good last year does not mean it's going to do good this year. Listen, I'm not just telling you, hey, Pastor Dobbins, he's a billionaire. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is I have studied the market and I have watched it. I remember calling my wife. I was walking around a corner during the pandemic, and I remember losing like $13,000 to $15,000 in 15 minutes. I still made money on that particular stock, but it was an oil stock that I didn't exercise quick enough, and they filed bankruptcy. Oh, I want to choke them right now. I'm not going to say their name. I'm sorry. So I was making money, but the key is I said yes, and I went to exercise to make it was like I remember it being 13,000. It's like 13 to 15,000. It was fluctuating, but this company went through whatever restructure, what have you. They filed bankruptcy, so they were covered in a certain way. So I didn't get the difference between my stock. So what am I trying to tell you? Not paying attention will cost you. But this is me. This is why I'm tying it in. This is me making my own mutual fund. Does that make sense? I was killing the game, and thank God I had some other coverage. I didn't have a whole lot. Well, I had a little something in there. But basically, I just didn't get to make that much money. I see it as a loss because it was money I could have made. So what you want to do, you don't have to make the same mistake I made. You want a fund manager. Go to a credible investment firm. Okay, let's rock and roll. Past performance, this is pretty much the same thing. It's going to provide you helpful insight, but don't go solely based upon trying to predict things. Make sense? Oh, girl, you need to invest in this. Who are you? Who told you about this? Can I see that in writing? Do you have a prospectus? They go, what's that? Oh, buy.
That goes to show you, too, that you see a lot of that online, right? They're telling you what to do. Be careful with that. One of the things I've done, and I've always done it, they talk about how do you look at mutual funds. You look at 1, 3, 5, and 10-year performance. And for me, I average it all out, look at the life of it, and you get an idea. And the reason I even look at the long term, because look at all the stuff that's happened since 2008. So 2008 was a housing crisis, right? And we were both deep in that. But there's so much stuff that's going on. My belief, I got to come over here, don't I? I'm just talking. My belief is that if you look at the funds and knowing everything that's going on, it's a good predictor of how it could potentially perform. There's no guarantees, as he said, but at the end of the day, if it's at the bank, it makes 0.01%. $50,000 is $18. $100,000 is $36 a year. Think about that. That don't make now a bit of sense. Not now a bit of sense. Excuse me.
Listen, if Pastor Dyer has told you anything, get that money out of the bank. Now, first of all, do an assessment. You always want to leave, whether it's a few $100s in the bank, what have you. That's okay. $200 to $300, that's whatever it costs you not to make fees. Everything else, shovel that over. This is why you don't have time to be the latest person with the latest outfit, the latest hat, the latest jewels, the latest pearl, the latest watch, the latest shoes. I'm just trying to articulate to you. This is what Mr. Dyer is saying, hey, make sure you drive. I know it's kind of tough right now. I know you don't want to hear drive an old car that's actually paid for as opposed to you actually. The best car rates right now are 5% with maximum credit. 760 to 850, the best. But many of them are 11 to 19%. Which meant this answers your question earlier. So basically, the bank is not paying you any money for your money, but they're lending your money out and making almost 20% on it. We're not against banks. We certainly appreciate the service. All I'm trying to say is you got to trick the system. We talked, in our previous classes, we talked about credit cards, which are almost 30%. Okay, let's keep moving. Mutual funds have regulations, so it's super simple. Now, the SEC, Security Exchange Commission, they could change anything at the drop of a hat. But normally, there are good regulations. They're making sure that the mutual funds are treating you in good format. There are all types of disclosures for them. Your broker is going to go over that information with you. Let's talk about wealth management really quick. Bing. Okay, now investors protect themselves against risk by spreading their money across investments. Super simple. The simple version is, this is called, we talked about it earlier, diversification. Diverse. You all remember the famous movie. He said, you want to coordinate the colors. You want to coordinate the funds. Diversity. Diversity. Does that make sense? Diversity, okay. Diversity basically means you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Now, that's what I'm trying to get to. Somebody say rule of 72. Rule of 72. The rule of 72 tells you how long it's going to take for your money to double. Now, for my 70s in the room, my 60s in the room, for my 50s in the room, this is going to tell you how long it will take your money to double. All you have to do, this is called the rule of 72. What's it called? Type it in the chat. What's it called? All you're going to do is take 72 and divide it by the what? Interest rate. So if the interest rate is 10%, which is a base average for the Dow Jones. What is the Dow Jones? Started in 1896. There's a guy named Charles Dow. These are the top 30 blue chip corporations or stocks. Typically averages 10% or more. The S&P 500, which is mainly the index funds that Pastor Dyer talked about, has averaged 15% in the last 5 years. Okay, let's just use 10%. Let's just say you got 10%. Okay, how long is it going to take it to double? Well, I'm sorry, I think like that. Basically 7.2 years. So if you put $100,000 in this fund and it's rocking at 10%, that $100,000 is going to go to $200,000 in 7.2 years. Does that make sense? Now, if that performs at 20%, now we're looking at about 3.5 years. Does that make sense? About 3 years, 8 or 9 months. So the higher the interest rate, the quicker your money doubles. Think long term. Does that make sense? So for those in their 20s, 30s, and it doesn't matter what age, you have time for your money to double. But if you're not putting anything in there, what's going to double? I love you, but I want to be honest. No one's coming to save you. Do you have a quick question? Yes.
What kind of products should we be invested in where the rule of 72 would be applied?
What kind of products? Well, we want to break them up into sectors, which gets more to stock. There are about 12 different sections, whether it's technology, food, transportation, so on and so forth. But the mutual fund is a smorgasbord of all of those categories. Everybody like, oh, I need an AI stock. Wait, hold on. We're not putting everything in AI. What if it changes? Metaverse. We're going to put everything in the metaverse. What the metaverse goes down? Hold up. Let's balance it out. Does that make sense? Yes. Let's balance it out. Okay, we're going to rock, and then we're going to do a quick summary. Retirement savings. Now, you got differences. You got the 401k. You got a 403b. You can contribute pre-tax dollars. We talked about this. IRAs. Pre-tax dollars are great. Now, with your traditional IRA, which is an investment retirement account, and your Roth IRA, you pay after taxes. So you don't get as much benefit now, but when you pull the money out, it's not taxed. 401k, you're not taxed now, but when you pull it out, you're going to be taxed. So same information here, Roth IRA. I just explained it there. We want to make sure that we get to some details. Now, retirement savings. Now, let's look at some rental properties. Oh, yeah. You can be like one of our friends here in the front, and you can invest in 50 to 100 properties. You can actually own them. Or you can say, you know what? At least I want to get a mutual fund that actually invests in rental properties. Make sense? Now, pensions, old school. Really quick, yes.
Is the REIT the same thing as in like
REIT, you're talking about a real estate investment trust. It's different than a mutual fund. That is more the real estate investment trust, which is a whole nother class. It's basically taking your real estate and putting it within a particular trust. Everything you do, we talked about this last week, everything you own, essentially you want it to be owned by the trust. If somebody sues you, they can take everything you have. But if your stuff is in a trust, they sue the trust and not you. See, people didn't teach us this growing up. Does that make sense? Yes.
Can I add real quickly? When you put everything in a trust, when you get old and if you fail and like you said, you have to go to the nursing home, that's all protected. If you don't have it in a trust and you go to the nursing home, as soon as you pass, they take everything that you own.
The
And
pr-
it has to be done 5 years before you go into the nursing home.
Yes. Now, there are some stipulations, but everything is protected by the trust. And most times, if you're getting Medicare, Medicaid, my wife is in here, we know we've had to deal with just different aspects with our family. You can only have so much in your bank account anyways. So it pays you to be legally right now. You can do all this through LegalZoom. Trust is a whole other class by itself. But old school, really quick, and I'm going to pass the torch, and then we're going to open up for many questions. You would work for a job for about 20 years, retire, and you would have a pension because your company gave you a pension. These days, they said, nah, you don't have a pension. You invest in a 401k. You make your own money. So I got to take the money you're giving me, and you're not going to put anything with it? At best, maybe they give a 6% match. But our pensions have pretty much been gone for most companies. Let's be honest. Long-term investment, you want to think about those strategies. You want to prioritize sustained wealth and accumulation, diversification. When you hear value stocks, these are old school stocks. These are companies that are proven. You hear growth stocks. Don't let all of this be like, what's a value fund? What's a growth fund? Growth, it just means we're full of stocks that grow at a high rate. Value, this means they're companies that have been valued for a certain amount of time. Same aspect here. The longer you invest your money, hey, understanding risk tolerance is crucial, but the longer you invest, the more money you're going to have. Long-term investments may have higher risks, but it's all about the tolerance. Now, you got to think about the downturns. There were several people in this church. I told them we have a Men of Destiny class that we would do every Thursday. Every Thursday for about 2 years. Every Thursday, Men of Destiny, we met, and some of the Men of Destiny are actually in here. We talked about everything from money, real estate, you name it. I was telling them, don't just take out your money. Some of them didn't listen. The market fell in March of 2020 to 18,000. Well, the market's almost at 40,000 now. It's at 38,000 today. If you'd have just leave your money in there, it's gonna go back up. Does that make sense? Patience, young Jedi, patience. Okay. Continue monitoring, adjusting. Sometimes you have to make some adjustments there. I think that's pretty much clear. You can evaluate your tax implications. We talked about that earlier, and tax regulations. Now, at this time, I'm going to bring up my partner in crime. This portion is really a summary of everything we talked about the last 4 weeks. We would ask if you have any type of question. We want to answer every question possible. Has this been helpful, us teaching finance and wealth?
That's good. Thank you. Good feedback. I love it. This man has been amazing. He's as passionate about this subject as I am, so that's a good thing. I love it. They didn't think we could do it, I don't think, but we showed them wrong.
Listen.
I love it. All right, let me get that clicker, young blood. Let's get this thing going.
There you go.
I can call him young blood. All right, okay, we're gonna go through from a summary perspective and talk about, at a high level, some of the things we actually talked about. Week 1, assessing your situation, clarity of goals, understanding how much money you're actually spending, understanding what you need to get rid of, understanding that you don't need 17 streaming services. Hello. Manage your finances. We talked about the 50-30-20 rule. If you can get there, get there. You'll see at the end, I've got a couple things I'm gonna ask you guys to do. Week 1 again, emergency fund, paying yourself first, okay? Emergency fund is probably one of the first things that we're gonna talk about you doing. At the end of the day, I want people to be able to start saving at least $100 a month to start getting towards your emergency fund if you haven't started one at all. Week 2, good credit scores. We talked about how important credit scores are in everything we do, including healthcare, ironically, according to where you live. I mean, it talks about your life expectancy. Stop being in denial about your finances. One of the things people of color, we are in straight up denial. I think I gave you the example where that guy I met, what's the guy's name with the podcast that played football for oh God, I forgot his name. Anyway, Shannon Sharp, that's what. So Shannon Sharp's financial advisor was on a flight of mine when I worked for Breyers Ice Cream. We were flying to Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he's from Texas, he's from San Antonio. And I told him I was with USA and da-da-da-da. I said, what do you do? And he told me. So I said, why don't we do this? I can give you some advice. Once you fill out this form and send it back. Filled out the form, sent it to him. He sent it back a couple of weeks later, snail mail, no email back then. He says, the first thing you gotta do is get rid of them credit cards. You'll never be able to do anything living on them credit cards. You're living beyond your means. That was a wake-up call among anything. Week 2, it's okay to ask for help. Now it might not be the first time. Take care of you first. Answer your phone when these folks call you and get help from them. They will provide help to you. Short-term pain for long-term gain. When you've got to make commitments to try to change some stuff in your life, it's a short-term pain. I say that to my students. It's like college. It's a short-term pain for a long-term gain. Similar concept. Focus on resources to help you understand what the stock market is. We want to read all of the latest gossip on social media. We need to stop that and start reading this kind of stuff. Brother Dobbins just made the comment a little while ago about certain apps, certain things. One of the things I do, and I'll say the name, and I probably shouldn't, but I follow all the news and on the trends. If you look at stuff like Tesla, for instance, Tesla didn't make their numbers. You would think their stock would drop. I look at it, it was up $4. I'm like, what is going on? But the key is keep being aware of that kind of stuff. That's what you need to be aware of, not some gossip that's out there that don't even impact you, right? Week 3. Wealth destroyers, cars and dealership. We talked about what that is. We talked about buying a 3-year-old car. Somebody over here confirmed they bought a 3-year-old certified car, saved money, got a newer car, that's the way you work it. No, you do not need a car, Sherry. Financing a car, if you do decide to finance a car other than Sherry, it's a 23-8 rule. We talked about that as well. I will not. Week 3 as well, consequences of paying and not paying bills on time. If you can automate them, automate them. I know, again, we don't like to do that because the bank controls that, and we don't like the bank to have control. I understand, been there, done that. Living paycheck to paycheck, unfortunately everybody's doing that, but the key to that to me is, that means we're living beyond our means. We've got to stop that. We're not trying to do this for anybody else but ourselves. You've got to put yourself in a position to be able to help you and the generations beyond you. Because at the end of the day, they can say, well, Grandpa Frank, he used to work at Walmart when he retired from the Potter's house. I'm like, I ain't gonna be able to do it. But what I will do is say, Grandpa Frank had 300 shares of Walmart and it tripled, and that's what I'm talking about. That's what we do. Week 3, steps to increase income. And wow, I made it through that quickly. Good job, Francisco, good job. All right, so I guess we're ready for a little Q&A. So you guys have enjoyed this, right? Because the boss man is going to ask about it. And I call our bishop boss man, but he will definitely ask questions. We'll bring it back? Yeah, all right, there you go. Good job. Bishop, sir, you see that? It wasn't me. I asked them a question. All right, very good. Let's get it.
If we bring it back, will you agree to bring your spouses, your children, your family members? Okay.
The young bloods and the old bloods. Yes, ma'am. Oh.
Let's just say that
Those who would have a question, if you could directly run to
Oh, sorry.
Elder Carter here, it would just help out so that our online audience can actually hear it. And we'll take as many as we can before they kick us out of here.
But they will be kicking us out.
You have questions online, feel free to write those questions on your comments. We'll make sure that our team or someone answers everything you have.
Okay, so let's just say that you're coming into something. Let's just say you're.
Turn it on, turn it on. I don't think it's turned on.
We'll repeat your question. Go ahead.
Let's just say you're coming into some money.
Okay.
And I'm literally coming into some money, but I'm wondering, but I'm in debt. I'm really in debt. So should I take the money and pay off my debts, or should I take my money and invest it in the mutual funds?
So we may have two different versions of this, but my first thought is to pay off the debt first. Yeah. I think once you do that, that's going to free you up. I mean, having a debtless mindset is a whole different view on life, right? So I would encourage you to do that first and foremost. But what's this going to allow you to do with that debt you were paying off before? Now that you don't have that debt, that money that you were paying on that debt, you can start investing that, and that's where your money goes. That's an excellent way to approach it.
I think it's an excellent answer. Now, if we're honest, I have seen some things that was going to drop off my credit report soon, so I did not pay them before. I know what that's like. Oh, no. You didn't expect me to be honest?
Hey, he's real.
You didn't expect me to be honest? So I said, you know what? I'll pay this off, and this is going to be off in a few months or next year. I can deal with that. I'm okay.
She didn't say it was behind, my brother.
I'm just giving an example. You said debt. So it depends on if it's behind, and I wouldn't just pay off my debt without settling my debt. Here is a difference. Let me give you an example. If I owe Mr. Dyer $10,000 and he knows that I've been dodging him,
I'm gonna get my money, buddy.
I may say, listen, Mr. Dyer, Dyer Corporation, if you would please take $6,000, he might say, you know what? It's costing me more money for my collectors to call them.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
See, these are individuals. Corporations, they do it all day because they've already written the money off. Pay off your debt. Pay off your debt. I'll leave it alone. There it is.
You just freed it all up.
You freed up your own money.
Yeah.
The key is you have to have a pattern and a routine. Most times we get a settlement, tax income, you name it. Yeah. This is why it is splurged upon, because we've not created a system.
Exactly.
Pay off the debt. The money that you're actually making should be a system. Next question.
Uh-oh.
Just yell it out as quick as possible. We'll try to get everybody we can.
Oh, we got it.
Two questions. I've been hearing about, how much money you put aside, for emergency.
Yes.
Since the 19th century. This is the 21st century. 6 months. I mean, it has to be, why is it still the same 6 months from 19th century to 21st century?
Well, you got to think about it. So, and I'll let you want to start on this one?
What's the question?
Well, basically, he's saying at the end of the day that he's been hearing about keep 6 months since the 19th century. But again, it's inflation in salary, so things change. So at the end of the day, in the 19th century, you needed to have $10,000. Well, that's probably like that. Probably $6,000 at the most, right? Now you need to have maybe more than that. But it's just inflation in time and the fact that salaries increase. So you need to have more of that. Example: what I owe now? Oh, I didn't owe then. But now I owe, so I have to have enough money to cover that for at least 6 months.
So it's still 6 months after.
First of all,
so
it'd be
many
great to
decades?
have 6 years. We're just saying, have
Yeah,
money
yeah,
to the
yeah,
side. What's the next question? Come on, Carl.
I know.
Come on, you.
Okay. When you're buying a house, sometimes they would tell you, okay, how much are you trying to spend? Is it true that you can cheat yourself out of getting a lower interest rate because they already know the numbers? Like if 2,000 equals to 20%, they're going to give you that 20%. But ask them, what kind of rate can you give me? Don't tell them a dollar number. Try to find out a percentage number.
There's no way to manipulate the system. The interest rates really are what they are. Right now, 30-year, you're looking at 7.2, 7.4. If you get a 15-year mortgage, which is what we recommend in prior classes, you can drop it down to a 6.4%. It depends on what the Fed rate is at that particular time. The best thing you can do is raise your credit score and
Bingo.
have money to put down for a down payment.
Yeah,
Good question, though.
that's the best way
Next
to go.
question.
Yep.
Hi, sorry.
Oh, it's working
Hi, I
now.
have two questions. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Come on.
Okay, so you know, like when you're talking about the market falling and everybody's like losing their money, is that the time to buy in?
Come on.
Listen. Okay, so we may be a little different on this one too, but the way I look at it, and so my wife likes to shop for things on sale. I say stuff is on sale. I gave one of the pastors here. I said Tesla and Google had dropped well below 100, and I said I think it's on sale. You may want to jump on it. They went and jumped about 25 shares, and then then they went to one. Yes, exactly. They went up. It's on
Okay.
sale. Great option. Go ahead.
Okay, and then the second one, what are the best retirement accounts for entrepreneurs?
Well, I think I don't know that there is a difference. It just depends in terms of an entrepreneur, what you really want to do for your business. Tax sheltering that in a trust is going to help you. Other than that, it is the same thing. Last thing I'll say is I agree with Frank. One man walks out of the stock market when it goes down. He's pulling his hair. He's like, what am I going to do? Another man rushes in, whistling with his hand in his pocket, say, everything's on sale. He said, I lost my money, but everything's on sale. We buy, who wouldn't buy something on a sale or discount? We do it all day. So I think that's your major thing. I think it's the same for business.
I think so too. I think there's a couple of IRAs, like SEP IRAs, you can look at, but it's the same thing in that way. You can invest in mutual funds. Yes.
SEP IRA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And you can do mutual funds in there, just like we talked about, and you can make the money on that.
Okay.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, thank y'all for what y'all been teaching us for the past 4 weeks, and thank y'all for
Thank
all
you.
participating in here.
Thank you.
So my question is about mutual funds. So you spoke about if we invested in mutual funds. I'm speaking that out loud because I want that to happen to me.
Okay.
And if I want to change it and it gets to 25%, is there any fees, like penalties, if I took it out and then put it in another mutual fund?
No. No. Not that I'm aware of.
Well, she's talking about rollover.
Right.
Oh,
when-
yeah. Go ahead.
It should be fine, but the key is read the fine print and ask the broker when you sit down to set it up, or if you're doing it online, look at that information.
Okay.
Should be okay, but most are penalized if they're taken out as cash for you to use.
Bingo. I was going to say just that. The thing you have to think about is when I used to run the transfer of assets department, so that's what I used to do. If that company that you're rolling them over to hold that mutual fund, it'll be no issue. If they don't hold it and they have to liquidate it, that's what the issue may be.
Excellent
Bingo.
explanation.
Sorry.
Hello, my question consists of I'm just opening up my own personal business, and I'm a personal chef, and so I want to understand what kind of account do I need to open for a first-time entrepreneur, and how I can make my money work for me when I'm asleep.
I love it. I think my sister was asking something similar, which was a SEP, self-employment plan for your pension. But I think you want to start as an individual first, setting up to make sure you have the 50, 30, 20 rule in place, and then making sure that you have something that's directly toward mutual funds so that you're making money before you, as you expand and grow to where you get employees. And you want to teach your employees the same thing. We hope that at another level, you be able to provide your employees with a 401k or 403b and beyond, or 457.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, how are you doing? I have a question. So when we led the session, you said to invest 15% of the 50, 30, 20, 20 being the savings. And I just wanted to know if we should save the other 5% toward our 3 to 6 month savings in a money market and invest the 15 into, say, a mutual fund, or should we lead with the 3 to 6 month savings first?
I think it is the 20%. I think what I was trying to articulate is investing at least 15%.
Okay.
So therefore, if you invested 15% directly in your mutual funds, then 5% of that would directly be in an MMA, which is a money market account that you could actually access if you need it during that emergency time of need.
So do we lead with the 3 to 6 month savings before we start to invest into mutual funds, for example? Or doesn't matter if you split it up?
Save the 3 to 6 months
First.
first.
Okay.
That is your insurance on yourself.
Okay.
Because life happens, right? So we all know that life happens, and you need to have that. The last thing you want to do is try to finance an emergency on credit cards, and that emergency that was $500 end up costing you $1,200 because you don't pay it off right away.
Right.
So that's the way to approach that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent question. Oh, she got your question? Excellent. Last question.
Okay, I have a 18-year-old that's in the military right now, and he's saving $700 of his money a month. But the other part, he's spending it like water. And I'm trying to, and so that automatically come out his check, the 7. But the other part that he has, which is more than 700 a month, he, like I said, he's spending like water. He finds groceries or he finds something to buy with. And I know an 18-year-old. I know that it's going to take time for him to really come into his own and understand about money, because this is really the first time he really had real, decent money or whatever. But I want to know how should I, because I always tell him, I'm texting him, you spending too much money, or whatever. But he said, okay, mama, or whatever. But he's still, spending more money or whatever. So I want to know, what should we say to him to actually get him to calm down and to really realize, because I've told him, you need to write down everything that you spend and add it up so you'll know what you're spending, so that you won't.
Well, let's break it down this way. Is he in the Navy?
He's in the Army.
He's in the Army. We had a son who was in the Navy. He was blessed to be able to do things. Initially, he really listened. Mama, he's a grown man now. He's in the service. I know it's tough. Send him these videos. That's first off. But it's a good thing he's a good son, because you actually have access to that information. All you can do is encourage him and talk to him about it. And then you have to be able to be honest. I'm not asking your age, but if it's 30, 40, 50, to articulate your age and what you could have been financially if you'd have started investing when you were his age.
Oh, I know. That's true. Okay.
Good answer. Come on. One more, real quick.
Okay, so, okay, so my son is really good with saving money, making money. He's 9.
Yeah.
So I gave him a task, and I'm trying to rush through the question really fast. I gave him a task, and in 2 weeks, he saved $300. And then, the thing that he was trying to save for was given to him freely, and then he just gave up on the task. And I'm trying to figure out how I can keep giving him that structure because he makes money so easily. I want to he spends it if he gets it so easily, So I'm just trying to figure out how to I don't know, set him up a system. You know what I mean?
So one of the things I did, I gave this example the first time with my daughter. I set her up an UDMA account. So with that, it's a Universal Trust for Minors account. And if you set that up at a Fidelity or somebody like that, when he would get money, the example I gave was she had McDonald's and Disney shares of stock. I would just buy shares of stock. So when she would get that Disney thing, it would say, I'm a shareholder, I get one, I don't know what they call it, McMeal. So she would go in and she was like, hey, listen, I own you, give me my Happy Meal or whatever it is, right? So for me, if you do stuff like that, they see what it's doing, it works. I mean, so she started doing some investing herself, right? So she would get money, she would put it in there, Daddy, I want to buy Disney. I bought Disney at $26 a share, right? Costco, $50 a share. Where Costco is $500 a share. Though, if you show them that stuff, I think it'll work. But you got to, I don't know how old he is, but, oh, girl, yeah, you good. You got the key for him, if you tell him stuff like, if you invest for birthdays, if people give him money for birthdays, put it in that account. Invest in a mutual fund or invest in stocks, it'll blow up. He'll have, I don't know, by the time he's, I say my age, go God, I'm getting old. By the time he gets closer to 60 and about ready to slow down, he'll have $1 million+ as long as he don't touch it. The problem that we have, once we save money, we think about it, we try to go get it. We got to keep it away from us just a little bit, right? And we'll be okay. All right.
Real quick, Okay, so while you guys are talking about mutual funds, the AI bots is listening, right? So as soon as I get home, everything about trust and all this stuff and funds is gonna be on my phone. So long story short, I've been getting inundated with information about how to invest in all this stuff and, sign up on Instagram. So it's talking about this AI. AI can show you how to, invest, and you won't ever lose because the AI is actually doing it and controlling that. How much of that is actually true? Of course, people want you to sign up for their course and all, that's out there. But
Young blood going to handle this question for me.
I
Go
want
ahead
to
on,
know
young blood.
how much of that
you know
is
my
true
belief. I'm old school.
as far as learning how to get into the trust and the e-trading, day trading, and all that stuff.
This is a perfect way to end the class. Artificial intelligence is taking us to the future. I would get with a credible bank, a credible banker, a broker, and many of them are being trained and developed on AI because that's being used to trick the market to see what's going to perform. The proof will be in the pudding. AI doesn't have a full prospectus yet, but they are gathering that information. I'd go with a person, but that person needs to be up on technology. I think that would help. I think we're gonna. We have one last question.
Okay, hello, my name is Evelina, and I want to ask a question concerning CDs. I know I didn't hear anything about that, and maybe it's something you might have spoke on before, I'm not sure, but I made investment into CDs, okay? This is what bothers me. The interest that they gave me was really good, but of course, it got to be reported to IRS, right? Yes. All right, now my tax lady tells me, now it just bothered me because I add another dependent claim on my tax. But she says because of what the investment that I made, and I did it in Discovery, which was, it was a good interest contained. Let me slow down. I saw what I saw on the screen here, and Discovery had a good rate going on, and I made pretty well on it. But I just can't understand, how does it weigh out? You're going to prosper one way, and then IRS hits you again on another. I don't get that.
Everything you do will be taxed. Well, first off, there are different tax shelters for it. We will close on this portion. If you study Wealth of Nations, this is Adam Smith, 1776. He is the origin, his thought of capitalism. While you make money, there will be taxation on your monies to go back into the system. There are other ways to shelter that. I think you should get with a good tax accountant that actually helps you do that. And before you make the investment, they can also walk you through particular steps where you can write that information off. Does that make sense? I know you still don't agree with your tax accountant, but your tax accountant has got to follow the law. We've got to close out, from my understanding. We will be around shortly. Has this helped y'all?
Yeah. Excellent. All right, so let me challenge you real quick, because I know Tamara gave me this, and if I don't say it, I'm going to get in trouble. Your financial journey starts now, and your actions today will shape your financial success tomorrow. So if you're not doing it, these are some things I'd love you to be able to do. Have $5,000 tucked away in an emergency fund this year. Work on that in 12 months. Increase your credit score by 10 points by doing good things with your credit. And invest at least $100 a month in an index fund. Let's see if we can make that happen to make your life journey a lot better. Thank you for what you've been doing.
Would everybody please stand with a word of prayer? Yes, next. Listen, how many, would y'all like, should we continue Wednesday school? Elder Carla, would you like to close us out in a word of prayer?
Yeah, I want to say that make sure you fill out the survey so you can let them know how you really enjoyed the class. Also, if you have an offering, let's give them a round of applause before we leave. Mm-hmm.